Yo, so I figured it was worth doing a MW3 FPS Best Graphic Settings video. I've done ones previously for other CODs and other games in general, so I've got a bit of experience with what it feels like to get good performance out of the game. And I'm really autistic when it comes to testing out different things and trying out the benchmarks, etc. So I figured I'd do one just for the graphics of MW3. It'll be useful for a lot of people. I'm not going to go through Windows settings in this. This is purely going to be the in-game settings. So if you want a full guide with all the Windows optimization, things like that, I'll make another one if you like that in the comments. So let's talk a bit more about these settings. We'll go through the graphics and some of the interface ones maybe as well. But yeah, so you want to be in full screen exclusive. Don't use borderless unless you're a really casual player. Full screen exclusive is the best. Make sure you've got all your monitor and all your graphics card settings, etc. set properly. Make sure you're in the highest refresh rate. Mine goes to 280, but I like the way 240 feels because I don't have to overclock my monitor to do it. So I play on 240, but be on your highest. Make sure you're in your right resolution, aspect ratio, all that stuff, and make sure you've got your shaders reinstalled if you've updated your graphics drivers, which I recommend you do for Modern Warfare 3. All of this is preference. Low latency, if you're on an NVIDIA graphics card, I think it's 20 series or later, you'll have this option. On and boost for me feels a little bit hitchy, so I just use the on setting. Off is pointless, don't bother, you just turn it on, it's fine. But yeah, on feels okay to me. On and boost is a little bit hitchy, so it may be a different story for you. Maybe in my full guide, that if I do one, that I'll talk a bit more about that. But yeah, anyway, moving on. Eco mode, custom because we're changing the stuff anyway, so it doesn't matter. VSync you want off completely. Frame rate, make sure you just set this really high. You don't want super high in the menus because it can overheat a little bit, so just set that to like 90 or 120 or something and you're good to go. But make sure that you max out your frame rate limit. Scrolling down, that's all of those ones done on the display tab. So let's move on to quality, which is where the money stuff really is. So a big topic right now is upscaling and sharpening. What do people use? So I think CAS has been pretty popular lately for the last 2 or 3 CODs that it's been in. I could argue a point for AMD's FSR or even image scaling sometimes, but I much prefer FX CAS. I think it gives me the right balance of sharpening for performance. I play on 65 strength for that. VRAM scale target is always on 90. You do this in all the player options and stuff as well, which is something else I'd go through in the full guide if I did one of those. Variable rate shading, I haven't tested this much yet, but it seems to say that it's activates and improves performance at low visual cost, blah, blah, blah. It sounds good. I haven't tested it, so I've not bothered turning it off because I've not felt like it's done anything bad for me so far, so it is what it is. Now, these settings are a little bit preference-wise. You lose a little bit of performance, but let's go through them. Texture res is on low. Texture filter anisotropic I have on normal, which is one of these is a bit preference, but I like it on normal. Not too much of a hit, to be fair to you. Depth of field off. Detail low, very low. Bullet impacts off. Persistent effects off. Shaders I play on medium. You can turn this all the way down, though, I'll be honest. I just like doing it for the visual effects, and also it helps videos and stuff like that. On-demand text streaming is off because this used to cause a lot of problems with packet burst and packet loss, although the game is still heavily problematic right now with packet loss and packet burst, so whether that's something to do with this or something we need to change, I'm not sure, but it could just be the servers being terrible. They usually are. Shadow quality we have on low. SS, is that not? No, it's that one. So shadows are off, ambient occlusion off, SSR off. Static reflection, all of these are just off. These are just pointless settings you don't really care about. They're not important. Tessellation, I have off. Terrain memory, sometimes have it on medium, sometimes have it on max. I don't think there's a huge difference between it really for performance. Volumetric quality we have on low. Deferred physics quality off. Off. Everything water, all these volumes, whatever. Really pointless for the game, and you don't need it in a COD game. So, on to the next tab, which is view. I have FOV set to 108. If you're a Warzone player, you're probably going to be quite used to 120 FOV. If you're a comp COD player or like a typical multiplayer player, you might like somewhere between 100 to 110. Me personally, 105 to 110 is my sweet spot that I like, and I'm in 108 for that right now. Affected is absolutely the best. Don't use independent, really bad. All of this stuff, I mean, you can probably use narrow. I haven't tested these out, I'll be completely honest with you. I don't bother messing with them. Just make sure you've got motion blur off on both of these. Film grain off all the way to 0. Turn down your camera movement. You don't want that. It's pointless. Everything else is a little bit whatever. If you have problems with your eyes or anything like that, or likely to have seizures or something, you can enable this and it'll help. And that is it for the graphics tab, but that doesn't mean that we are done yet. If we head on over to interface, there are some things we can do. In the color customization, there are some interesting filters down here. I'm on filter 2 and I've turned up the intensity for both of these quite high. It's basically saturation a little bit, these bottom ones, and these color filters just help a little bit, just changing how things look. I think it's good. I like using it. Some people say it's too saturated, but that's the way I like it, so it's up to you if you want to use that as well. A lot of these things are personal preference, but Inside the telemetry here, you make sure you turn on FPS counter and things like that, just so you can see an improvement in your performance. Do a before and after, do a benchmark, and let me know what you think down in the comments about some of these performance settings. And again, if you do want to see a full-length guide that's going to include going through the Windows options like player files, Windows game mode, graphic settings, etc., and your NVIDIA settings for NVIDIA users out there, and I'll give some tips for AMD as well if you're on that. If you want to see something like that, you'll have to let me know down in the comments. Any other videos you want to see on MW3, let me know again down in the comments. Make sure you like the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.